All right, everyone, it is 1:30, and I am Donna Maloney and Chair of the Charter Club Committee, and I will call our meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to establish a quorum. We do have a quorum with one committee member, Mary Kay Vidal, absent today. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Do I have any amendments to the minutes of March 1st? Hearing none, they will stand as written. Next item on the agenda, unfinished business. This was tabled from our last meeting regarding the promoting of sales of crafts and specific craft sales. I'd like to let everyone know that per the RRMPs in Chapter 5, Article 8, under publicity, it specifically states any advertising must have prior recreation activity manager approval, and per staff, they are happy with that. We don't need to do anything else. And Casey has discussed the issue with the appropriate parties that drew this to our attention. Moving on to the next item under new business, websites. Katie.
All right, thank you. I'm going to cover kind of a wide variety of information here, more informational than anything. And if there's something you have questions about that I don't talk about, by all means, when I'm done, I'll be happy to answer those questions. So the first thing we want to talk about is the Sun City West website. That's our main website, suncitywest.com. You should be able to find pretty much anything you need here or leapfrog from this website to another website that would have the information you need. So one of the main things I wanted to talk about on this, if you want to go to the board docs website, that is right here. It says governing board is a way to get there. And then this middle button here will take you to the board docs. That's where all the governing board and committee meetings and agendas and back information would be housed if you need that. If you're interested in joining a committee or the special committee or standing committee, that application is here. That link would take you to a SurveyMonkey application where you can fill that out. And then over on this right side is the official posting. So per the bylaws, the governing board has to post notice that they're intending to change a bylaw or that they have changed a policy. And that would just be a running list right there that we update as the board proposes any changes. So that's just one way to get to board docs. You can also just type in gb.suncitywest.com and it would take you to the board docs page. That's a quicker URL than what the real one is, which is pretty cumbersome and messy. And then, am I missing the menu items here, Mike, for About Us? Oh, it's at the top. All right. So this has changed recently, so I'm a little, I forget about this part on the top. So on our club website, we recently updated some of the top menu items. As you know, we discussed that, I think, last month. We're going to do something similar to this website. And so this top header has changed slightly. You may notice that. And when I get to the club's website, we talk about how do I, and it's sort of a link to several different items you might want to do. It's an easier way for us to categorize stuff. That will be coming to the main website. We just don't have it right now. So for now, we have the main menu at the top. And if you go to About Us, all these other ones are pretty explanatory. Recreation centers are going to take you to the 4 rec centers and information about them, golf, etc. News, you're going to find rec news, financials, GM reports. Things to do has more to do with the events. The calendar, of course, is exactly what it says. But About Us is sort of a catch-all for that management type information that doesn't have a natural place elsewhere on the website. So on there, you're going to find our guest rules, another link to the governing board page, information about member services, including the fee schedule. It'll also have information about visiting grandkids and stuff like that. One other thing on here, we don't talk about this a lot, is the new member packet. So again, it was the main page, About Us, membership, and this new member packet right here. If you click on that, that's going to download a PDF. It's big and it's full of glossy photos, which is why it's taken forever to load. But that is a handy printout that when you're a new member of Sun City West, it's not going to load, so I'm just going to go off it. But when you're a new member of Sun City West, you'll get one. If you've been here for several years, you might want to check that out. It has all the guest rules. It has the hours of operation. It has all the phone numbers. It's just a quick informational resource in PDF form that you can download to your computer or print out, and is a great resource in that as well. Membership forms, we're trying to put more and more stuff online. If you're ever in the position to need an APF refund, a golf cart refund, if you have emergency contact information or next of kin information, there's an informational update form here as well. If you're a landlord who rents your property, we really request that you pre-fill this information out. It tells you what information to bring to membership. And then if you want an associate member card as well. So lots of good stuff hidden here under this About You form. And then the new member packet is under, what is that under? It's back one, back here. So we're in the About You, the member comment form right here on the right side. You click on that. It's a digital way to send us a question, a comment, a request about any of the rec centers, any of the golf courses, any of our facilities. This is the #1 best way to communicate with the rec centers because it creates a paper trail. It creates a sign-off form. It goes to Kathy's office, who will farm it out to whichever manager needs to answer or address that issue. And then when the manager addresses it and signs off on it, it goes to the GM's office. He reviews all those and signs off on them. And then they go to the governing board for review if they want to look at those as well. So again, that is a great way to contact us. So we do track them, we do log them, and we do notice trends and can search by keywords because we have this all in a Excel format on our end of it. So again, About Us, don't forget about that. It sounds like a vague little place on the website. We are going to be cleaning up some of the searchability on this when we do the upgrade on it, but that will have your member comment form, employment, contact us, all this good stuff hidden back here. So that is the main website. Then we're going to talk about the Sun City West Club's website. You might notice that horse picture on the front. The quilt matches the one on the wall behind us, so there's the real thing for you. So this one was recently updated. It's got the search bar up here and sort of some new branding on it, and it has this I want to. So this is a quick way to just, it's very hard when you have as much information as we do on a website. How do you categorize it? So we're simply putting it into I want to do this, or I want to contact this department, and we're going to do that on the main website, which should make it easier to find some of the stuff. But for here on the club's website, more information about Sun City West clubs, learn about the Divvy Builder. So that's for any of our content managers. A content manager is essentially kind of like the website manager for the club, and you would notify us that you have a new content manager through the CR5, I believe it is. So anytime your officers change, you have a president, vice president, secretary, etc. You also have a website manager, and that information comes to us on the IT staff. We give them credentials on that individual club website, and then we can give them training. We give them information on the standards. We can hook them up with our volunteer trainers who can help them learn how to use Divvy or find resources if they need that help. So don't forget about your content manager when you're updating your officers. That's the key to getting access to your website. And then these two are simply hot links to send us an email. So if you have a generic email about clubs, you just click on it, and it's going to, this is not connected to his email right now. So on your home computer, it would launch whatever email solution you're using, if it's Outlook or Google or whatever, and it would automatically send us an email, and you write your question about how do I join this club, or what's the contact information for this club, etc. The second one, or the last one, is email club track. Same thing, you click on it, it auto launches your email program and auto populates the club track email address, and that goes to a team of us on IT. So if you have a question on how do I sign in guests using club track, or I have a new change to my roster, how do I get that imported, or I want to report on my monthly stats for club track, that's the way you do that. So all of that is pretty simple under this top header document. Of course, a club directory, as you know, alphabetically or categorized. And then we have this sort of landing page for the non-chartered clubs. Those are ones that are not under the umbrella of the association, but as a courtesy, we provide them a link to their external website. For our members, our chartered clubs, if they wanted to have an external website, if they wanted to do something fancier than our standards on our club website allows, they could have an external website, and we simply still maintain the internal website for that club, but then we have a link to their external website where they may have a whole lot more bells and whistles than we provide on ours. So that is it on Club Tracks. Also, yeah, documents, I didn't cover that. So anything you need to do officially with the rec centers is pretty much going to be a CR form. And I think that's club request is what the CR stands for. So the landing page on here has a quick description of every single form, what it's called, when you have to turn it in, and what that form is for. And that when you have to turn it in becomes very important when you start talking about capital requests or changes to your club room that are going to have a financial impact, because we need to then work that into our budgetary calendar and time frame. So pay attention to those time frames when you're filling those out. All you have to do for one of these is click on it, and it will either bring up the form, or in some cases, what we've been doing is a zip form. So when you click on it, it doesn't necessarily pop up. If you see here in the bottom left, it's putting a zip folder in there. The reason we do it that way is some browsers, if you try to launch a PDF, it won't open it in Adobe Acrobat. It will force it to Edge, your browser, and then a lot of the functionality gets lost. And so to bypass that, we force it to download in a zip folder. When you open that, it'll have either the Excel form, in this case it's your club membership roster. That is the official template that you would use to submit a roster through us for ClubTrack. Or in the case of some of the other forms, it's going to be a fillable PDF, or in this case we also have an Excel form that has Excel formulas embedded in it. So that's the CR forms at the top. You're going to see a couple other links. This is the overall RRNPs. So let's say you want to download the entire set of RRNPs and not have these individual pages. That'll download the whole thing. You can print it out, save it to your computer, whatever, read it if you can't fall asleep at night. And then the appendices. So we have gotten requests for some of the items on here. The price sheet that Casey's team works with when renting facilities is available on there. The capital planning process that Carl's team works on. So that again has to do with those time frames when you have a major change that has a budgetary impact. This is the process you use, and Carl has shown this at our meetings, and this is just another way to check that out on there. And then lastly, the donation, memorialization, and advertising guidelines. If you had a club that wanted to donate a painting, we do have guidelines, we have standards, and we have a process for that. So that is on the appendices of the club website. So those are the two websites and board docs. If there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them before I move on to ClubTrack.
Any comments from committee members? Anyone? All right, go ahead. Oh, Joel.
So, Katie, the reason that clubs went out to external websites is because that external website provides a capability that our internal website does not.
Yes.
That's the reason. Okay.
Correct. And there's a reason for that. So the way we have our clubs built is there's a master parent website, which is SCW Clubs, that our administrators have access to. And that allows us to add and subtract clubs to all of them, to add and subtract webmaster and parent at the very top. And then under those are 100 different club websites that act independently. So when you give credentials to somebody on, say, agriculture, they can't go over to Bocce and start modifying their page. So that functionality means that the plugins we do on the master parent website and affects all the child club websites. If individual clubs start adding their own bells and whistles, a plugin for a calendar or selling tickets or a plugin over here for something else, and it conflicts with a plugin that another club has installed, it ruins everybody's functionality. And we have seen that where we had a calendar, somebody else wanted a different calendar, so they installed it and everybody's calendar went down. So we do have a set of standards across the board. Within those standards, you can be pretty flexible and change some stuff. But then we also have some requirements that you have your officers on there, your bylaws, your hours of operation, the basic things that we as the rec centers want the whole world to know when they're looking at possibly moving to Sun City West. So that's the reason for the standards, but we totally respect some clubs want a whole lot more functionality, so that's why we offer the hyperlink.
Donna? Oh, excuse me, Donna, the The
Yes.
emails that I had sent to you and Casey last week about the sports clubs' websites,
Yes,
I see that's not on the agenda here. Do I have an opportunity to address that?
go ahead.
Okay. I'm the liaison for all of the sports clubs. What I did in trying to understand all of those sports clubs is I went to their websites, looked at 9 of the 12. Bottom line, there is no consistency with clubs. Some clubs have internal, some have external, some have on all their internal pages. Don't look at our internal pages, go to our external pages. One club has different information on both sites. Not wrong information, but they have this information on their external website, but they don't have that same information on their internal websites. So I'm just suggesting and proposing some have no board officers or contact names. What I'd like to propose to the Chartered Clubs Committee is at some point, we as a committee, either this year's committee or next year's committee, do spend some time and see across all club websites. So just my suggestion.
Like to comment that this is operations. Website and how clubs journal, Katie. Again, it's operations, and I don't see that as something that we would be instituting in the RRPs. But I do recognize the fact that we are advising operations that that's something that needs to be addressed.
Sure, and I just wanted to bring it, to everybody's attention. These were just the sports clubs that I looked at, none of the other clubs. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for that comment, Joel. That is a huge problem for us. It's one of the challenges of having 100 distinct clubs and finding a webmaster within each of those, and usually someone comes with their own experience or lack of experience. Usually the ones that have a lack of experience will learn Divi because that's what we use, but if somebody comes with another program that they really, really like, they don't want to learn ours, so that's where sometimes the external one does, in addition to having more bells and whistles. It is a problem. I don't have a solution manpower-wise. We rely on volunteer trainers at this time, so we are definitely open to suggestions on how we can get that uniformity and that consistency. One thing, though, with club officers on the website, just as a safety measure, do not put your emails on the website. There are bots that go through the website, scrub this information. They'll know that you're the president. They'll know your name. They'll have your email address. They'll know you had a banquet at Briarwood, and they will send you a fake invoice and say, hey, you had that thing at Briarwood on this date. Here's your invoice. And it looks very real, and it's spoofed from a different website. So our ask is that you put a phone number up there, not an email address.
Thank you, Katie.
Yep.
Donna, I had a question
yes.
to Katie.
Carol.
Would it be possible, Katie, on the CR forms to indicate where each one of those should go?
So at the bottom of a CR form, when you click on it, where's our downloads? All right, so let's say I open the CR7, right? And it's a PDF, and I fill it out, and I go to the very bottom. Of course, this one doesn't have it. That one doesn't have it. Of course. Anyway, at the bottom of it, it's going to have an email me button. And when you click on that, it'll launch your email program, whatever it happens to be, and it will, when you launch that email program, it'll auto-populate the email with the name of whoever it's going to. Okay, here it is. So click on email. It'll launch your email program, and it may go to Dory, it may go to email@suncitywest.com, it may go to Russ's team. So it just depends on what the form is, but we embed the person it goes to behind the scenes.
Does that depend upon what type of program you're using?
It will launch whatever program you're using, but as far as who it auto-populates in the to field, no, that is set no matter, it's different form by form, but it doesn't matter if you're using Google or Outlook or anything else.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right. So real quick, we're going to talk about Club Track. I've already gone into depth about all the different kind of reporting we can get off of here, so I don't want to go into too much on that. I did want to let you know we are now starting to see some trend data month over month. So as we have specific questions on individual clubs, or what's the busiest day of the month, or we're short-staffed, we need to close the facility early, when's the least used time, we can start answering some of those questions on there. But otherwise, I just want to say the last 2 editions was a all-in-one touchscreen at Pickleball. I know they have their own system, but we've installed one as well so that the data on ours is consistent across the board with all the clubs. They're all using the same software. And we also put in another touchscreen all-in-one in the back 40 of the theater because we had one in the front, but most of the folks that are coming for practices come in through the back 40. So we pretty much have all the clubs that we intend to track. We have them with their own hardware. We did Broadcast Club recently as well. As for Sands Pickleball, because that's mostly public play, not club play, we don't need to measure not public play, member play. We don't need to measure that like we are trying to specifically measure club play. So don't intend to do too much additional hardware right now, but if there's a need, certainly we can look at that. And then as far as the elections and the auto reports, I am a little sorry to say we're running into some issues with the vendor just struggling with some of the programming on the elections. We did a trial with one of the clubs recently, and it just was not to our satisfaction. We had a few issues, so we're going to refine that. We're working every day with the vendor on getting that up to speed, and then we'll let all the clubs know, okay, it's good to go. If you have an election, you can run it through Club Track. So I'll have more information on that when we're a little more solid ground on that. And on the auto reports, again, the email functionality in the back end of Club Track is just a little rusty. So the reports are all there. We can send an Excel or a CSV or a PDF version of pretty much any report for any club if you request it, but the auto sending of those reports on a monthly basis is still in the works. And then lastly, clubs, signing in guests into clubs. There's a lot of discrepancy in how the clubs are doing that depending on what kind of a guest it is. So from our perspective on an IT world, if you are signing in a prospective member of a club, so they're a guest of the club, they don't belong there, but they live in Sun City West, you can swipe their card, and you're hopefully all familiar with Club Track. When you swipe their card, they pop up, their picture's there, all the other clubs they're active in are there, so you know they're in good standing. If you were to swipe their card and it didn't come up or it gave you another message, you would know they're not a valid owner member and shouldn't be allowed in as a prospective member. So once you swipe that, it comes up, you just hit cancel because you're not checking them into any club, and then you should have a separate form from Phil where you write down their name because every club has a limitation on how many times a member can come as a guest before they have to join. That functionality is not in the software. That should be done on a separate form. If it's an outside guest or someone that doesn't live in Sun City West and is thinking of joining the club, let's say you've got visitors from out of town, the owner member should wait till all their guests are there. They should swipe their card, use the drop-down item to go to 3 guests or whatever it is, and then sign them in. We shouldn't have instructors signing in prospective members as their guests. We shouldn't have multiple swipes from the same owner member because 10 different guests came in the last hour, because then you're getting 10 swipe-ins for that member, and we can see that in the reporting. So hopefully that clarifies it a little bit, but again, if there's any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them.
We have a comment from the audience. If you would come up to the mic and identify yourself and give us your rec card number.
Mimi Williams, 401735. What reports might we get?
Can you talk into
What
the...
reports might we get, Katie?
Okay, so as far as what reports we can run through Club Track for the individual clubs, we can run who checked in for a particular day. We can run your roster of who's active in your club. You pretty much have that because you give it to us, but we can send it back to you in that same format or in Excel. We can run a monthly report of everybody who checked in, or if you have a member and you want to know how many times that particular member checked in, we can run it by the member, but they'd have to be active in your club. So pretty wide variety, but for the most part, because there's 100 clubs, we're trying to stick to the monthly check-in report and perhaps the roster and keep it pretty simplified with that.
Okay, that sounds good. When might we start getting those?
So like I said, I'm frustrated that the functionality is behind, but if you want to request it, we will just send it to you. So send an email to clubtrack@suncitywest.com. This needs to come from an officer of the club saying this is the report we want, this is the month we want it for, and which email address that should go to. And we'll do that kind of on demand until we get the email functionality working.
Wow, Katie, that was a lot. Thank you very much. Great job. And I would just like to share that we had you do this because liaisons were having clubs question how to do certain things on the websites. So thank you very much. Next is the Charter Club updates, and I would like to just say this little purple notebook that all of the committee has today is the final complete RRMPs, and it also has what we are going to talk about today on the bylaws. And I am really excited about that because it has taken a very long time to accomplish this, and I want to say thank you so very much, Casey. This is a great present to be presented today. Thank you very much.
Good.
So you are up, Casey, and you've got a number of items on here to talk about. If you'll just click, 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 check as you go through them, that would be great.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Just real quick for some good updates. We do have a couple closures coming up. Beardsley Pool will be closed for a new repaint and facelift. So we're working with some clubs and actually already have on moving them. The men's club will be closed for another remodel, and we've worked with them, and we have satisfied their needs along with Club 52 and a couple of the card clubs from some card players of Sun City West. Metal Club has received their occupancy, so they are officially open. They are opening to their members beginning Monday, April 11th. So if you see any of them, congratulate them. Russ from maintenance and Carl, they did an absolute amazing job. If you get a chance to go over there and look at everything, it's well worth the tour. And Phil gives special tours too, so if you haven't had one, you can look for those. I am actually really excited. I didn't even tell Donna. I left this for this announcement. I got an email from Desert Garden Club, and they received their acceptance letter from the IRS to convert to a 501c3. So,
Great news.
That's good news for you if you guys love the work that they do and offer to the community. That's huge. I'll move on to the liaison report. I don't have a whole lot other than they all did send me some comments, concerns, issues, working on addressing some of them. One of them was the website, so I think we can check that one off the list. So hopefully that helps with any questions that you may have. We worked with two card clubs that we had Bridge, Contract Bridge, and not Kiva. No.
Tuesday?
The Tuesday and Wednesday Bridge. We've been working closely with them as well. Single Partners Bridge, right? And Contract. And then the sports, we did find some things on the website, reached out to one of the clubs, so on and so forth. Got a lot of good feedback and concerned feedback from arts and crafts, so thank you. Social club as well. So just working closely. There are 98 clubs, so don't expect me to get to you the very next day, but I do have those on our desk. Moving on, Sands Pickleball courts. When we were in COVID, Pickleball developed a lot of groups. They were not allowing them to have the drop-in play, so they created a lot of groups. So in lieu with that, they needed more pickleball courts over here at Sands, but they will continue that through April 10th, and they will release the 3 community courts indefinitely on April 11th. So that was just a comment and concern. So just to make that very clear, as of Monday, April 11th, those 3 community courts will be released indefinitely to the community. Officers meeting, moving on. Many of you know that I did cancel them. I had a ton of people that said they could not make it, so these are required. So Martin and myself are coming up with kind of a live PowerPoint, if you will, and I'll be sending that out, I'm hoping, by the end of next week to all the different categories. It'll be on one MailChimp, but you'll see sports club, you'll see card club. If you don't know which club that you are classified under, just let us know, and maybe I'll create a cheat sheet for you so you can refer to that. Any questions there? No? Okay. I have reciprocal and league play on here. I did have there he is. Hey, Ron. Do you want to talk? Sure. Okay. Yes, sir? Ron Wambach from the tennis club, president. Oh.
Made it just in the nick of time. Thank you. Ron Wambach, 100988. Casey and I have been working for quite some time in trying to get reciprocal play for the tennis clubs. Primarily league play is what we're looking at. League play consists of approximately 8 teams, 6 to 8 teams that play in the West Valley. Only the City of Surprise Rec Center over there charges everybody, no matter who you are, for court time. I think it's $2 to play. We're the only community that actually has a guest policy that requires our guests to pay a rec fee to come and play here. We go to Trilogy, to Portobello, to Sun City Grand, to Festival, to Pebble Creek. We go to all these places. 6 to 8 different leagues playing 6 to 8 different people, and we do this on a home-and-home basis. So it takes a heck of a lot of effort to put this all together. We're the only one, again, that's charging rec fees. The question became, in case you tried to work on this, is that these other facilities, either one, don't have a guest fee policy, or two, if they have a guest fee policy, they don't enforce it, because no one ever checks, no one ever charges us anything. So the idea has always been, and I think Pickleball is looking at doing this next year too, from my conversations with the Pickleball leaders, that they're looking to do league play also. We're not talking about general reciprocity. I think there is a general reciprocity between us and Sun City right now, where people go back and forth, and our softball has one for going back and forth between, because our leagues are combined. But for tennis, we're missing an excellent opportunity. We have the premier tennis facility on the west side of Phoenix, maybe in all of Phoenix. These people come here, they play here, they love our courts. They go back, they talk to their friends. People that come in talk about, hey, I'd like to play tennis. Hey, where do you want to play? Go look at the courts over here at Sun City West. They are fantastic. I think the same holds true for the courts that are up at Palm Ridge for the pickleball courts. But with the guest fees arrangement as it currently is, and we need to go back, whatever the procedures are or whatever the rules and regulations, wherever they all may be, that talk about having to pay guest fees all the time, we need to implement a guest fee policy that states leagues do not have to pay a guest fee when they come back and forth. Until we actually start to pay, and I don't know that we will, but we will, as soon as we do, we'll advise you of whatever the case may be, but please implement something somewhere along the way. We had a good policy this year that Casey set up, whereby anybody that comes in from these other leagues needed to sign a waiver. If they signed the waiver policy, which is primarily a liability situation, as good as those waivers are, and at that point, they were able to pay without doing a guest fee. But that was a one-time extension that we had through league play, which is now all ended. For next year, the idea has been that we won't have that available to us. So we need you as a charter club to implement something, to pass it on to the board and whatever powers may be, to change that so that we don't have this. Because we're talking about $40 to $50 every time another club comes in to play at Sun City West. We don't pay at their place. Two things may happen. One, we're going to get kicked out of the leagues because people aren't going to want to play with us. That means they don't come and see our facility. We lose a tremendous public marketing facility, and these people are here to look at this. Two, we won't be able to play at their places, and they're going to start to implement something else. None of this makes any sense to me, and I've tried to do that, and Casey understands our position. It's just that right now, these people they don't respond. And it's like, I sent out something about 3 years ago to several of the league captains and said, hey, here's a new policy that's a reciprocal play policy. Please take it back to your administrators and see if they won't sign this, which was a waiver of the fees basically, and it had a whole bunch of conditions on it and everything else. And we submitted it at that point. Can't remember who was in charge. Casey wasn't there then. I don't remember if Riley was there or somebody else was there. But in any event, nothing ever happened, and that whole agreement sort of died. But really, if you got questions, ask me questions or whatever, because we really need to get this going. And I'm only talking pickleball and tennis. There have to be a lot of other clubs that are here that would like to do home-and-home arrangements. I don't know how many other facilities that are out there that have the lawn bowling, but lawn bowling would be something. Who knows? Bocce ball. I don't know, all these places that go back and forth. If you have a legitimate league, ours is all called the West Valley League. It's a women's league and it's a men's league. You know, if it's legit, why are we paying $5 or charging other people $5 to come and play here when we go play for nothing at their place?
Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much, Ron.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Committee members, basically, Casey, do you want to continue to say something else, or?
Oh, no, I'm well educated on all this.
Okay.
Times
So,
3.
I think the bottom line here is we, the rec center, we have reciprocal agreements, and we as a committee are familiar with those reciprocal agreements. And what Ron is asking is, since he has communities that will not agree to do a reciprocal agreement, that they want to be able to come over here without a reciprocal agreement, without paying a guest fee, and use our facilities because they're, quote, league play. And we have been asked as a committee to have discussion regarding this and what our thoughts are. Are we inclined to agree with what Ron is proposing as far as allowing league play to happen here in Sun City West without paying a fee, or should they be paying a guest fee, or should they be required to get a reciprocal agreement from another community? We need discussion and feedback as a committee. So, Judy.
Just one question. Is there a liability if somebody gets hurt on the courts and that kind of thing? I mean,
That's part of reciprocity. So when they sign the agreement with the other community, Sun City is the only one we have. That is considered. And like Ron was saying, every time they come and play on the Fridays, they have to sign a separate waiver every single time.
is there a possibility of having just a waiver signed once a year?
Well, it is, but a lot of his rotate, so it's a lot of new faces that come through. So it's different levels, and then so they're rotating 5 or 6 different communities, right? So his group would play here once in the course of an 8-week league. Is that correct? Right. So it's new people every time. But if Ron's competitor is from Grand and they're playing, and then it so happens he's back here in 2 weeks and he already signed that, then he's good to go. But typically it's all new people. And this was just to get them through the rest of the season, or else they would have had to end their league right in the middle. So we just thought it was fair to work with them in that respect.
Diane?
So the question then is, of the existing, the question is then of the existing, I guess, sections that we have. So it's not that we're looking at addressing the reciprocal, this is actually a modification to the guest policy.
Yes, that's what Ron is proposing. So league play is completely different than reciprocity.
Right, so if it's the guest policy that we're looking at, and if we have certain exemptions, then that's going to have to be written out, and that's going to have some equal reciprocity for other clubs also, so I think that needs to be investigated as, I understand what he's saying and I agree with him, but we just have to figure out how do we get this so it's fair for everybody. Sure.
Again, what you're talking about is opening up our facilities to outside people without paying a fee. And as residents and owner members, is that what we want? Okay, we need to go to the mic and identify ourselves. And we'll do that after the committee has had their comments.
My feelings
Karen.
are, is this the tip of something that's going to end up from a snowball to a snowman, where the league play gets to be more and more, and pretty soon the people that live here that want to play and use the facilities but don't belong to a league can't find time on a court. And then what's to stop other groups from forming, quote, leagues, and then opening things up more and more? I mean, as a club member, I can understand where you're coming from. As a property owner, I'm not so sure I want to pay to maintain courts and have them opened up to people who do not live here and pay the fees that I do.
Excuse me, Ron, you'll have an opportunity after the committee speaks.
No, I totally understand home and home, but in other words, is there going to be a time limit that you can tie up the courts, or as more league play gets more popular because more communities want to participate, are you locking out the people who live here who don't want to use the facility but don't belong to a league?
And again, I would just like to say that you are addressing the committee and voicing your opinion as a
Right.
committee member.
My concern is that there has to be a limit or specification of how many times this could be used if we are to do it.
All righty. Any other? Carol?
I think we've already seen some of the effects of this with the bowling alleys, in that there are so many people from Sun City that are in here playing leagues. The 2 lanes that are available for residents of Sun City West are often used by those same people. The people who live here who do not play in a league cannot get in there to bowl. Leagues, which are made up of a higher percentage each year of non-residents, have kind of taken it over. And I don't want to see that happen again. My club, which happens to be Bocce Club, had some of these same issues in wanting to play not just a one-time tournament with folks from surrounding communities, but more frequently. But because we felt that was unfair to members in the community who support these facilities, that we opted not to go that route.
Thank you. Any other comments from committee members? Judy?
So right now, these people are coming anyway, right? Oh, I'm
Casey?
assuming.
Casey will address that.
Yeah, I can answer. Yes, they are.
Okay, so,
I will say it's not many people, but
okay.
but this opens up the gate for sure.
Okay, so the volume is low right now?
Right now. Mhm.
Okay, but it could snowball.
Yeah, if this gets pushed into other sporting committees, or I'm sorry, clubs. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, we're ready for the audience. Jack.
Jack Leary, 128-260. I'm speaking as an owner member, and there's one fact that has not been mentioned, is that the facilities here exist for the owner members, and this proposal has been based upon opinion, innuendo, lack of facts, and I don't see how the committee can even consider it without understanding the full impact of what is being proposed.
Thank you. And again, I will just reiterate that I was asked to bring this up on the agenda for the committee to share their thoughts. We are not going to be making a recommendation. We are just sharing based on what is happening within our community, and we represent a voice of the committee or the community. And I was asked to find out what the individuals on the committee think about what's happening. So if there is no other comment regarding that, we've shared our opinion. And Joel?
Yeah, my opinion on this, and I mean, obviously, you know, I live here too in Sun City West, but, and I'm speaking a little biased because I am a member of the tennis club. However, just my opinion, I think we do the Sun City West community as an entity more of a disservice to us in the surrounding communities if we go to all these communities, whether it's tennis, whether it's pickleball, whether it's bowling, and we say, no leagues, nobody from Sun City, nobody from Sun City Grand, you know, any of the places can step foot in here to play in a league. I think.
Well, and again, Joel, it isn't that they can't come. It's that they just have to pay the $5 guest fee. And
does anybody here from finance, what does that mean to us as far as revenue? The people coming. So it's not a revenue, so then revenue is not an issue.
again, it's setting a precedent for if we do for one, we need to do for all.
Okay, all right.
And Liane would like to comment again?
Since we have
Mike.
Is it my turn?
Sorry. Since we have a lot of ideas, and I'll take Jack at his comment, perhaps what we need is a little subgroup just to look at pros and cons and write some of this down, ask some of the appropriate people, and come back with some sort of pros and cons that we can make a decision on, and just get a little subgroup to look at that.
Again, that would not be our committee to do that. We are kind of the subgroup. We are the committee that has discussion, and then that goes forward to the general manager. And we have any other comments from the committee? Okay, Liane again. Or, I'm sorry, Karen. Hello.
My biggest concern as a resident is I didn't buy into something to be open to the general public. I bought into something that's sort of a, if you want to call, semi-private community as well. But also, then how do you tell the card groups they can't start doing this? How do we tell the dance clubs we can't start having play among other areas? I just think it's a bad path to start down unless you have some very obvious restrictions on it. And I think maybe the people in general, if it is an issue, maybe the people that live here have a right to vote on it, to say what they want their community opened up, or if they don't want it opened up.
Thank you. And Judy?
The way I see it, though, is they're going to come anyway. It's just a matter whether they're paying $5 each time they come or whether they're not. Is that correct?
Okay, we can't ask the
I should-
committee
sorry.
member. You
I'm
can
just wondering.
ask Casey.
Casey, hi.
Our audience member.
If they come anyways, we have leads that will control that, and they'll come let us know. It happened. We know that. It happened last year. I don't think you were the president yet, Ron, when it was addressed. But we will absolutely find out from the leads because they do their part, and it is that $5 is part of a liability as well. That was probably left out.
And Pat, you would like to say something?
Okay,
You're the,
okay. Does this apply to tournaments?
you
too?
talk towards the mic, please.
Does this apply to tournaments as well?
No.
I mean, there's leagues are
No,
separate. from-
this is not tournaments. Okay, we are now ready for the audience. And Dick?
Yeah, Dick Rhodes, 125790. I think the committee has done a pretty good job. I mean, I came up here about 2 or 3 minutes ago, and I think you've really gone through and identified what I think is the most important thing. And to go back to a point that one of the ladies up here made and Jack made is we are about providing services to our community. And when we start to open it up, I think, or what I'm hearing, is that this whole league is relatively new. Infancy, it's not.
It's not new.
It's been around a while,
Yes.
but the restriction is they have to pay. So what I'm afraid would happen is exactly the analogy to the bowling alley and to the to the bridge club and all of those, is that you're just going to be inundated and there won't be any time available for the residents of the community to play. But the suggestion that's on your table there, I think, is that you're going to have a group look at it or a subcommittee, which I think is probably the best thing. Because to me, on the surface, this is not something we'd be interested in.
We are the group for the sharing. Next, please.
Hello, my name's Martin, 120058. My, I moved to Sun City West because I came here with friends that lived in the area, and at that time, I just dance. I'm a dancer, and we paid an extra little bit to come in and dance and utilize your place here. But now as a resident and a member of the dance club, I see that you're dictating to the club to boost their membership and have an account of people to be able to use that facility. But yet, like the tennis club, they play with other teams and stuff. We dance with other groups like Sun City, and we have where we pay their price and they pay ours, whatever reciprocity. And I say you guys are putting a lot of pressure on our clubs that are actually people that actually use the club, rather than the people that want to be snobby about, well, this is our place. We can't let nobody else in here. Well, how the hell do you think I got here? Why do you think I moved over here? Because I was welcomed. I paid a little more, but I was welcomed here. Now I'm being slobbed out of here. Now I'm being treated like, well, your friends can't come here because they don't live here. Or they have to pay more and what have you. Well, we're willing to pay, but we have to have some kind of slack here, because even though, I don't know if they pay a league fee, why can't they pay from the league fee to allow members of their leagues of different teams come and play and utilize our place? Nobody's forcing you to use this place, but now they're forcing us to demand and increase our club membership, and nobody wants to come because there's too many, personally, I think a lot of stupid new ideas being put in that's putting a lot of restrictions and a lot of hassle and hostility in our community from people that want to enjoy the place and people that want to just, well, it's mine. I paid for it. Well, use
All right,
it.
well, thank you very much. We've heard that. I appreciate your input. Thank you. Next.
Mike Casanda, 112330. I'm one of the captains of the tennis teams, and we've been doing this. We've had the same league without the restrictions for probably 40 years. So now suddenly, in the last year or two, suddenly now we have to do liability forms and pay the $5 or the people coming in here have to pay the $5. So, 40 years, it worked fine and no complaints, no anything, no problems. Now suddenly in 2 years' time, we got a problem. The other things they were saying was the amount of play. We always play late in the day. So all of the regular people are usually done by the time we're done. So we're not impacting any play for our members. So that isn't even a factor.
Thank you, Mike. Next.
Lynn Kellis, 129120. As a member of the community, I can kind of see both sides. However, people bought into this community knowing that we'd be able to have space to go and do the activities we want to do. Today, if I have my grandkids over swimming, it's $3.50 a piece to go swimming, and you have in a couple days, that adds up. It's not any different, I don't believe, than a dance club, a golf, tennis team, whoever. My thought is they need to pay something to use our facilities. They're putting wear and tear on them, and they need to be responsible. As far as the insurance goes, perhaps they can go back to Sun City or whoever the club may be and say, can we have a copy of your proof of insurance that will cover all of your players? So we don't have to worry about that. And then have maybe a discounted amount for the team to play, but rather than $5, maybe the $3.50. I don't know. I think that they need to pay something. Just
Thank
an
you.
opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. And again, I will close this up here if I may. Jack, you want to say something else? Okay. I'd like to close this discussion. We've all shared, and the purpose was to have the general manager hear the voice of the community. This will be an operations decision that will be brought forward to the governing board. Moving on.
All right.
Casey, thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Ron. The next one is commercial mass production. We actually put together a meeting tomorrow with Karen Justice and Kathy Estes right here. They are the arts and crafts liaisons, and we have reached out to the appropriate clubs that have a lot of questions, so we'll be meeting with them. And you'll see when we go through the bylaws some of the recommendations that we have added based off of mass production. So I just wanted to give everybody a heads up there. Before we move on to that, Katie just wanted to make a brief announcement.
Wasn't on the agenda, but it's an informational piece. I had a meeting today with a company called Zona Wired, and they are a home fiber network installer, so they would be a alternative to Cox or CenturyLink. Rec Centers doesn't take a stance on it being good or bad, but they will be in the community in the next 30 to 60 days, probably through the end of the year, and they will be dropping this fiber throughout the entire community. So you'll see their trucks, you'll see them digging up in the rights of way, probably open holes in the ground, but they'll have those sectioned off with cones. It's a long process to get these wires inspected, drop this whole fiber network into the community. And like I said, it's an alternative for home network if that's something that interests you. But we mainly wanted you to know, so for safety reasons, these guys are out there. They'll be in labeled cars. They'll have information out there. As they hit a segment of the community, they will put door knockers out there to let you know they're about to start, when it'll start, etc. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to fiber.events. I know that's a weird website. There's no .com. It's just fiber.events. And they have information where you can sign up if you want more information. But we just wanted to announce that as a community service.
Thank you, Katie. And Casey, what's our charter club of the month?
We skipped the bylaws?
Well, I thought you could do the charter.
Oh, sure. Hold on, sorry. I was following, let's see. I know what it is, or who it is, but I have some notes. So the selected clubs that we put out there was Sunwest Art and Pickleball. Sunwest Art had over 1,000 people at their event about 2 weeks ago. It ended up being a huge turnout for them, and they were able to gain 9 new members, so it was nice PR for them as well. The other club was Pickleball. They had nearly $3,500. They did a charity fundraiser for a lot of our community nonprofits here, and they were able to raise over $50,000. So I have to say, unanimously from the committee, they chose Pickleball as our club of the month. So I'll be heading over to their general membership meeting next Wednesday to present, because I see Eileen is not here. So.
Thank you, Casey. And the next item on the agenda is the sample club bylaws. And I'd like to say that Casey sent out a first draft of the club bylaws to the committee and asked for response to what she was recommending. And I'd like to say the most significant request from Casey was that a lot of the bylaws be referenced back to the RRMPs and not reiterate what was already stated in the RRMPs. So again, like I said earlier, we have the current copy of the sample bylaws in your purple folder for the committee here. And I would like to just briefly address a couple things on the sample bylaws that is what Operations is proposing. Specifically on page 1, a change to section A. This is under membership. Membership shall be open to members in good standing of the recreation centers. Club membership is open to only those issued at a current owner member card, associate member card, or tenant activity card. Each club member has equal rights, responsibilities, and obligations. Item B, honorary lifetime memberships are not allowed in charter clubs. And moving on to section C, membership report. CR 15 contains each member's name, recreation card number as of December 31, and is submitted to the recreation manager by February 15th of the following year. And I would like to say also that we will notice that in the RRMPs and in these club bylaws that per the request of Human Resource, they would like Recreation Activities Manager to now be referenced as just Recreation Manager. Moving on down to, on page 2, maintaining a club charter. That has been changed to number 1, stating charter clubs must meet membership and membership participation requirements per the RRMPs measured by Rec Center software and annual CR 15 membership report. And number 2 stays the same. Moving on to page 3 under, we have changed Article 3, Code of Conduct. This is under Member Conduct, Section A. Disciplinary action is necessary when members threaten the safety of themselves or others, are abusive, blatantly create turmoil, disruption, or dissension among club members, club, or the association in general. All disciplinary actions must be approved by the club board, majority vote 51%, member notified within 5 business days of infraction, documented in club records, including CR 16, Charter Club's disciplinary actions, and copies forwarded to the Recreation Manager and Charter Club's Committee Chair. Club bylaws must state disciplinary actions and procedures following RRMP guidelines. We move on to page 5, where we are addressing in section B, commercial/mass production. Club members are prohibited from mass producing for the purpose of individual profit. Club bylaws must outline fair and equitable membership use of club facility, equipment, supplies, and the procedures for controlling commercial/mass production, all to be included within the audit committee. We move on and under officers, again on page 5, we just made a change to section B. The club board shall be elected by a majority vote of those present at the club's annual membership meeting after a quorum is established. The elected officers shall serve without compensation. If appointed to fill a vacancy, the appointee must be confirmed by a majority vote of the club's board. And moving on, some changes. We're just changing recreation activities manager to just recreation manager. And on page 5, section D, February 1st was changed to February 15th of each year. Moving on page 6, impeachment. To impeach an officer, please follow policies that are available from the recreation manager. Moving on to section H. It is the responsibility of the club president to educate the incoming president on club bylaws, including the rules, regulations, and procedures, information which can be found online at scwclubs.com. Under meetings, section B, the club's board will meet as needed to ensure club business is kept current in our open meetings. Section E, club officers are required to attend officers' meetings called by the Recreation Center. The purpose of these meetings is to update policies, clarify procedures, and discuss mutual concerns. Section F, membership meetings should not have as their primary purpose a social event. Moving on, again on page 7 under financial, the only thing really changed is under section B, we are taking out chapter 4, article 7. We are just saying refer to our RMPs. And again, going on to page 8, under contracts, this is section F. Any contracts for instructors must meet RRMP's guidelines. Each contract must be renewed annually and a copy of each sent to the recreation manager for approval. And again, under committees, just a change under section B to where, or I'm sorry, I need to back up to section A. Committees and or chairpersons may be elected or appointed by the club board. Club bylaws must state the election or appointment process to be used. We added under section B, permanent standing committees at a minimum will include a safety and audit committee. And again, finishing up with the sample bylaws, the only change on page 9 is the deletion of activities for recreation activities manager. And the committee is not responsible for approving these. This is operations, and this is being shared with the committee for information and help with clubs in updating their club bylaws as necessary. First, comments from the committee.
Casey,
Joel.
when will the presidents of all the clubs have this? And then is there a anticipated or timeline when all the clubs are going to have their bylaws sent in?
Well, we'll be working with them this summer, so I'm hoping to start with the smaller clubs first and then working our way to the larger clubs. No, I don't have a timeline.
Any other comments from the committee? All righty. Tom, from the audience, you're up.
Thank you. Tom Jones, 1130110. I may have missed it, but on page 2, club monitoring.
Page 2, what?
Club monitoring at the bottom.
Oh, yes. I think you're right. I think I did miss that.
Okay.
And
yes, go ahead.
I will repeat it. This is section I, club monitoring. Club members are responsible for monitoring at club facilities, and club bylaws must state club membership monitoring requirements and any membership privileges which may.
So we will need to add that to our bylaws, is that correct? I mean,
Casey?
if it,
Yeah. And when we sit down with the clubs, we will definitely, when I did these, I worked with 3 different people reading back and forth and back and forth. So we'll definitely, it'll be a tedious job because we don't ever want to do this again. We don't want you clubs to have to ever do this again.
thank you.
Anything else? All righty. Next item on the agenda is our CR6 Charter Club activity calendar. And Casey, where is, oh, there you are. Jan, you've got a own personal mic there.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jan Carlberg, and club presidents authorize alternate who can make a reservation, change an existing one, or cancel. I know a lot of people send in other people. We can't do it. We have to have the signature because we need to make sure that the president is doing what he wants to do.
I think, Jan, the mic could be closer, maybe to be a little louder.
Hello?
Oh,
There we
that's
are.
much better.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so who has the authority? The president has the absolute authority to suggest any alternate he wants, the contact name, any of the information, phone number, email address we do need. And once they do have that person, they can request anything that the president can. And it's also dated. So if it's for the year of 2022, that must be stated. If it's for the year 2022 and 23, that must be stated. So as long as the president's in charge, that's how that goes. There is an authorization sheet on the next slide. And this is the sheet that the president would fill out. I, Jan Carlberg, president of whatever, scheduling, hereby authorize Joe Blow to request a new reservation. So there you see the period time, the president's signature, and the date signed. And we can get that in any form. It can be emailed to me or Mercedes. You know, you can drop it off. We always love to see everybody's face. So either way, we need that. The CR6 submissions are due May 1st, 8 a.m. It's not so important maybe for some of the smaller clubs, but for some of the larger ones.
Jan, real quick. May 1st is on Sunday, so it's going to be May 2nd.
They can send it in May 1st.
Can they?
I just won't get it till May 2nd.
Well, who are they going to give it to because our offices are closed?
It's all right, scheduling at suncitywest.com.
Okay.
And it'll go to Mercedes and myself. So Sunday's it, 8 a.m. Or you can print out your CR6 form and bring it in. That's fine too. We are going by date and time, so it being a Sunday doesn't mean we'll see it Sunday. Even if you sent it in on Monday, we might not see it until Tuesday or Wednesday. But it's all going by date and time this year. And that Mercedes is my counterpart. We're both in scheduling, and we'll both be working on these CR6s, making the reservations for the upcoming year of 2023. It's just the charter clubs that we're taking at this time, May 1st. Any other non-charter clubs or individuals can reserve after we are done with all the charter clubs. During the summer, we will be filling out all the requests. Any additional requests after the CR6, you need to submit a CR14, and we will look at that at the same time. And all clubs do get 2 free socials, so think about that. We try to take maybe the more expensive activity and turn that into a social, kind of save the club a little money. Anyways, so you can reach out to Mercedes and I at scheduling at suncitywest.com. Either one of us will get it. It will always be there. So once we've gotten the CR6 submissions during the summer, we have the fun job of putting them all into the system. And come September, we're going to start calling the different clubs and call you in and discuss. And if you have any questions, but in the meantime, if you do turn in a CR6, it's a good idea, especially for the larger clubs, to give us alternate dates and alternate locations. So if you want something at some city, at Summit Hall A and B, and it's not available, let us know that Social Hall is fine too, or a different date, and we can work on that. The other thing I do want to let people know is, even though you do the submissions, if we have a question, we will be reaching out. So nobody's going to be, it's not, we're not waiting till September, October to find out, you know, anything that we need to change in the meantime. So.
Thank you, Jan.
You're welcome.
Any comments from the committee? Judy?
That new form to fill out for your, you know, your person that you want to have underneath you, is that something we need to have in right now, or it's a new thing, or didn't we present that at the end of the year when we changed officers?
Yeah, it's not a new thing. You can do it.
So we've already done it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So you can do it any time of the year.
Got it.
Karen?
The question I had, this goes back to being around for too long, where I remember standing in line before it ever got light, trying to get certain dates. But you mentioned this will be on, as Casey brought out, a Sunday, but then you also mentioned that clubs that couldn't do that could print out the form and bring them in. And you're going by the order that they bring them in, so then the clubs that don't have that ability would be at a complete disadvantage if you don't open till Monday.
Yeah, well, May 1st falls on a Sunday. I mean, I really think it's to the advantage of the clubs to email it in if they can, or have somebody email it for them. Doesn't have to be them exactly, but it just needs to be emailed in, and the president needs to sign on that CR6.
I think we can, not to put you on the spot, Jan.
It's okay.
I think Monday, May 2nd is probably the fairest option at this point. Because, you know, you have Jack Leary, I know knows how to email. Firsthand. So he will be doing it along with many other people. That will come through at 8:01. And then on Monday, when I'm not, but Bocce Ball might not be able to have access to anything, and I know Carol does a lot for the club. So I think if we just change it to May 2nd for this year, just because of the day it falls on, I think that's fair.
Yeah. I agree.
Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Committee?
Much more fair.
Looks good.
And I do have that on that officers meeting that I'll be sending out. It does say May 2nd. So
and
that will be pretty clear as day, I think.
If I can make one note here too, they cannot be turned in earlier. So I just want people to know that. So we have to set a date and a time so it's fair to everybody.
Well, as they come in on Monday, our doors open at 8.
Right.
We will stamp everything as they come in and time stamp them. It's a fun process. They used to do it at 4 in the morning, right? Yeah, back in the day. Now they don't do that. So there could be a line, and we'll have to definitely probably run it like we do our events and put numbers out there and let the facility know and be prepared for it. Yeah. Yeah. No crash there.
Any other comments from the committee? Any comments from the audience? Looks good to me. All righty. No comments.
Donna.
Katie, anything? All righty.
Can I say?
Our Casey.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'm bringing up a. Don't leave, boys. You don't want to miss this. Come on, Ron. I think what we can do for the reciprocity is, I like Liane's comment of pros and cons. I will put something together, get with Joel and some of the necessary leaders for the clubs and definitely come up and see what their argument is versus community argument, just so that it's fair grounds across the board.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I will have that on the agenda at our next meeting, so we'll make a note of that. Hearing nothing else, I will announce that our next meeting will be May 3rd, and it will be again 1:30 here in the lecture hall. And I thank everyone for attending, and hallelujah, we have got RRMPs and sample club bylaws. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Meeting adjourned.